Hey everybody, it's me, Kirby. I'm in my car right now because I believe all of my roommates are asleep. It's relatively early in the morning, and I know I kind of look like a Twitter schizo talking about Joe Biden right now, but I thought the car was a neat place to do this. I've never really done this before. So for those of you who are just here for like the standard documentary content, this is going to be a kind of long-winded video where I just talk for a bit. If you're not interested in that, that's completely fine. Feel free to click off the video right now. I will not mind at all, and I hope you have a great day. But if you decide to stick around, that's pretty cool as well, and I'll try not to make it too long. Sorry, I got shit in the car here that I gotta move. Around a week and a half ago, I received this thing in the mail. I'm holding it at such an angle that you can't see my address. But I received this little box in the mail, and it is from YouTube. And why don't we open it up, see what's inside. I'm sort of lying here because I've already actually seen what's inside. I kind of opened it up as soon as I got it, but it's got a nice little letter from someone who works at YouTube. I think that who's this person? It's got a letter from YouTube's CEO in it, apparently, but also it's got this right here. Yeah, I got it. Isn't that crazy? I got the 100,000 plaque. I remember when these used to look different. I would see like YouTubers in videos with these, and they were like a black case with like a shitty little like silver button inside. I like this version a lot more. I think it's a lot more interesting to look at. But I have it. It's addressed to me. Fun fact, they actually let me enter whatever name I wanted, basically. So I could have just addressed this to like anybody. I actually had to enter my channel name manually, but I thought that would be a bit odd to do. So, but yeah, you know, I got this, and I think it's pretty neat. But what's more neat is what it signifies, and that is that I've reached 100,000 subscribers, actually about 102 at the time of recording this. I'm not super quick on the uptake. And I just think that's kind of crazy, you know, that's serious. 100,000 is a big ass number, right? That's a big ass number. That is, being on the internet all the time and looking at things in terms of like subscribers and followers kind of desensitizes us to numbers like this. You know, we see a Twitter user with 50 subscribers and think or 50 followers and think that's like nothing at all. When in actuality, 50 people that's a lot of people. That's more people than you'll meet in an average day, all in one place following one person. And 100,000 is even more ridiculous. That's actually insane. That is the population of a small city. I just think that's crazy. And that's nothing that I could have ever imagined happening, if I'm being entirely honest. I remember when the channel had 5 subscribers. That was what I started at. And I just kind of was making videos for fun without really expecting that I would ever go anywhere. I just think it's insane that it ended up here. So I want to thank you guys, whoever you may be, whether you've been around since like I was making Roblox Build a Boat for Treasure content, or you joined, you know, when I made the Bruno Paroznik video, or you joined for the Herobrine video, God forbid, or you joined from the Wikipedia video most recently. You know, wherever you joined from, I'm incredibly happy that you did. And I hope you continue to stick around long into the future. I started this channel in, I think, it was July 2019. I created the channel 2016 when I was a small little child, but I started uploading actively in 2019. I had wanted to do YouTube stuff for a really, really long time before that. And it was never even really about YouTube. I just liked making things. I've always liked making things. That's my thing. I just like to create. And YouTube seemed like the #1 avenue for me to do that and have others view it as well, you know? And I had been making videos for a very long time before I actually started uploading them. There exist these shitty little 15-minute long unedited like stream of consciousness Minecraft command block tutorials that I made way back that I never uploaded because they were like actually ratchet as hell. And you could see like my desktop toolbar and stuff in the background. It was great. But it wasn't until 2019 that I actually started making stuff that I was happy with uploading. And weirdly enough, at that point in time, it was like memes, you know, just like shit, 2019 prime shit ass meme videos. So I was making like Scatman John edits, and I was making Gummy Bear album edits, and just I was making things. You know, they weren't great, but I was happy with them, and I thought they were interesting. And the important thing about it was that it actually got me started. You know, it crossed that hump, because prior to that point, I had 5 subscribers on the channel. One of them was, I think, my mom. One was a friend from school. One was like my cousin who I'd gotten to sub 3 years prior. It was nothing. And the channel had like 4 videos on it, 2 of which were unlisted, and the rest of which were just like, there were stop motions, and there was like 2 even more shitty meme videos that were just ear rape. That was the joke, that I had made for friends, basically just to pass around like a year or 2 prior. So when I finally started making videos and I actually got like a handful of subs, like I remember within that first week I was uploading, I got like 10 subs, and I was like, damn, this shit is insane. I was like, I'm blowing up right now. I got like 2 people, and people were commenting on my videos, and I was responding to them. Like I was responding to every comment. And just like, and I was like self-promoting too at that point. So like once I started making like more serious videos, like a week or 2 after I started making the meme content, I started recording videos with friends and doing like comedy sketches, or at least what I thought were comedy sketches. And then I would do this thing where on the meme videos, which were at that point like still my most popular thing, and I say popular in like big quotation marks because it's like 100 views versus 20 views. On those videos, I would go in the comments section, I would reply to people and say like, if you enjoyed this, please check out Minecraft with the Boys episode 1, and just like do one at a time self-promo for the Minecraft series I was doing with Ryan and Chris and a couple other guys. That was something. But yeah, like I was saying, I slowly moved on from doing the meme videos to doing like gaming stuff. You know, gaming stuff was fun, and it's kind of like the natural, I won't say it's easy, but it's like a natural thing to do. If you're already just playing games and having fun with people that you enjoy spending time with, just setting up a camera and recording it and editing it down to like the funniest moments is just kind of like a natural thing to do. So it's understandable why that's where so many people get their start. For the first, like, in a sense, the first like 2 or almost 3 years, but really just like the first year, I was recording at a bunch of random ass places. I'll throw some images up on the screen if I can of like my recording setup and my recording locations for the first like couple of years of me making content. And this was like up until I'd say early 2021. My setup was, and actually continues to be, MacBook Pro, which I use for school stuff also, fuck ass $5 Walmart mouse that has served me well since November 2019. Bought it for $5, and some permutation of Blue microphone. It was a Snowball at first that I'd had since I was like 11, and then it was a Yeti once I decided to upgrade, and it continues to be a Yeti to this day. So my setup hasn't really improved, but you know, if it works, it works. That's the credo, isn't it? But anyway, I continue to make content, you know, and I continue to get views. The first thing that really, I feel, the first taste I had of making content and getting a genuinely considerable amount of views was the Bruno Powroznik video. I remember making that because I saw someone like live reacting to objects I've shoved up my ass, and thinking, this is a really funny video. And Googling the guy, finding out there's nothing about him, and deciding, you know, I was gonna be the person who makes something about him. That video was really just, I made that in a day. Actually, probably less than a day. I started like in the morning and finished it at night, so it was like 2/3 of a day. And it really was never intended to be anything more than just like, hey, look at this strange character and look at the interesting backstory behind him, despite the fact that he is most well known for shoving objects up his ass. You know, I just thought it was kind of an interesting little story. But people really enjoyed it. Like, I remember seeing the views. There was always this first little spike of views when like I had about like 90 subs at that point. So there's always this little tiny spike of views when I first uploaded that would just immediately flatline within 20 minutes, and then it would stay flat. There would be like 1 additional view over the next 2 days. But I remember seeing that spike, and then the spike never stopped. I remember being dumbfounded by that. I was blown away, and people started commenting and people were liking the video and I was getting subs. And I remember I planned to make a 100 subs special that ended up turning into a 150 sub special because I was too slow, and I had 150 by the time the video actually came out. And you know, from that point on, that was when like video essays and documentaries kind of became a mainstay in the channel, because I realized that they were fun to make. Like I have a background in like expository speech. I used to compete when I was in like middle school and high school, and the video essay content was basically just like an extension of that. It was, I'm taking these scripts that normally I would just write and then dictate to like a bunch of judges, and now I'm putting them to video, because you know, I love editing. Editing is really fun to do. So it was just like, it was kind of a natural progression, and I really enjoyed doing it. And you know, the rest, as you guys probably know, is kind of history. I continued making a variety of content. I had a 4-day upload schedule. Those of you who are new, if you're wondering why there are like 207 videos on my channel, despite me uploading like once a month, I had a 4-day upload schedule for about a year in like 2020 to 2021, where I would just put up like something every 4 days. It doesn't matter what it was. It could have been like a 30-second long meme video. It could have been an actual like video essay. There was literally no guessing. My channel was a pretty heavy variety channel for the longest period of time. But around 2021, I switched to the content that you most often see today, where I just kind of pick a fun topic that I think is really interesting and I talk about it. And I hope you guys find it interesting too. And clearly, as we can see from the number of people that have subscribed to the channel, I think you guys do, which is really, really nice. It's good to hear. A lot has happened in the time since, beyond just YouTube stuff. I graduated high school. I'm currently in college. I've moved several thousand miles, sadly not in Alaska anymore, which is very unfortunate for me because I loved being there, but it's nice to be in a new place. You know, I've met so many new people during this like whole period, and I'm in a completely different place than I was just 1, 2, or even 3 years ago. For comparison, look at this screenshot of me doing a Q&A summer 2021, and now look at me now. There's some changes, you know, but overall, I think I'm still really the same person. I've just learned a lot, and I'm glad that you guys have stuck around to be with me on this journey of me learning a lot and having ups and downs. And I'm just glad that, you know, I'm really shit at talking at this present moment in time. I'm shit at talking. I'm glad you guys have stuck around for this long. No matter how many times I say it, it continues to be true. And I really hope you stick around long into the future, as long as you continue to enjoy this content. And I will continue to make things as long as I find it interesting to do. And I hope you guys will continue to accompany me until such a time arrives. All right, so, oops, I hit a button on my microphone. I hope that didn't do anything. I have my little Zoom H1N audio recorder. Shout out Arthur Jr. Robinson for recommending this thing to me. Anyway, assuming that didn't fuck up my recording, it is now time to move on to, that probably peaked the shit out of the microphone. Okay, it's time to move on to section number 2. I'm doing a Q&A. You guys might remember like a month or 2 ago, I asked you on Discord and YouTube community post to ask me whatever questions you felt like asking, and I said that I would answer them. I haven't done this since the time of that screenshot I showed you a little while ago, 2021, I think like June 2021. So understandably, there is a lot of new questions. I could not answer them all, unfortunately. I got my computer here. I could not answer them all, but I answered the ones that I thought were, well, the ones that had interesting answers to them, basically. So, why don't we start? So Seraphin on Discord asked, what are some good books you think anyone in the business of reading books in their own downtime should read at least once, regardless of like genre and stuff? There are so many of these. There's an unfathomable number of these. I'll list a few that are like popping up in recent memory. There is a young adult series, and you know, people shit on young adults like a lot. Like they shit on the whole young adult genre a lot. There's some good stuff in there, honestly. Like, you just have to be able to find it. Six of Crows, the Six of Crows series, which I think was recently made into like a TV show or something like that, is really good. It's great if you like fantasy, historical fiction, or heists, or like really, really good ensemble casts. It's a great book. I really, really enjoyed it. Super gripping. I read it like the whole thing front to back. And it was super enjoyable. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a fun one. I wouldn't call it like great, but I think everyone should read it at least once. It has such a unique presentation style that I don't think I've seen anywhere else, and I doubt I ever will see ever again. It's a long one if you read the entire, like all 6 books or all 5 books. I can't remember how many there are, but it's great. It's definitely something to read. Let's think of one more that has had a profound impact on me. Oh, here's a good one. There's a book called, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this might be the exact title, The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Through the Window and Disappeared. This is a great book. I got this from my parents. My parents read it, recommended it to me, and then I read it, and it was wonderful. It has a sequel that's not nearly as good, but the original book essentially just about this old guy who doesn't really give a shit, and just kind of runs away from the nursing home and goes on this little adventure with a bunch of different people. And throughout the story, there is a parallel narrative detailing kind of his life and all the events he's been involved in. It's super interesting. I'd highly recommend it. And with that, let's move on to the next question. McSunther asks, what YouTube trends do you think from the last couple of years that were once good have become oversaturated? That's a good one. I think the one that they suggested was the current state of analog horror. I think that is probably the prime example. And the reason that I feel it's become like that is because people have started to imitate the letter of the genre and not the spirit. The original point of analog horror and like kind of like the overarching ARG genre was to recapture this kind of like authentic fear and paranoia that people had about otherwise innocent media, and like engineer it, you know? Like, there is so much from the past and from this era that analog horror attempts to emulate that was frightening to us as kids or as adults, but was completely not intended to. You know, there were things like the classic example, the emergency alert system siren, which Local 58, which is, in my opinion, one of the like forefathers of analog horror, which Local 58 played off a lot. That was never intended to be like terrifying. It was a civil defense system. But analog horror was able to take this and play on it to create something that was more intentionally frightening. But I feel like nowadays there's so much analog horror, and the people who are making it don't understand that that's why it was scary in the first place. They just, the viewpoint is like, right outside my car right now, there is a massive forklift carrying a bleachers. What's the singular form of bleachers? They're carrying a bleacher, and they just set it down in front of me. That was fucking insane. Okay, sorry for the distraction. But anyway, I feel like what made analog horror scary in the first place was not only that, but the way it was able to tell stories within this like narrative framework of like vintage media. And now I feel so many people just kind of have been shitting these series out and just slapping like the prerequisites of, you know, VHS filter, lots of silence broken up by loud, scary noise, like creepy, distorted face, things like that. And I just feel like people have kind of lost the spirit that made them scary in the first place. I think that Mr. Manticore, the guy who does Monument Mythos, has a really good grasp on this concept because his media doesn't just focus on like one era of media production. It like goes all over the place, but it's consistently pretty damn good because he understands like how to tell a good story and how to use like timing and spacing to create suspense. And it doesn't matter what the medium is. It could have not been analog horror, it could have been something totally different, and it still would have been scary as shit. So that's my opinion on analog horror in particular. There are a couple other things that have become oversaturated, but I think that example in the question is kind of the perfect one. Apollo asked, do you like TikTok as a content creator? Yes or no, and why? I'm neutral on TikTok. I think it's a medium just like anything. I think the format of TikTok is let me drink some coffee real quick. My mouth is getting really dry. I think the format of TikTok is just another format. It encourages people to create content in a different way, definitely. But I think the atmosphere, like the environment of TikTok is not healthy. I think it encourages a lot of like very unhealthy behaviors from its users. That's kind of all I'll say about that. That darned imp asked me 10 questions, which I'm going to answer in rapid fire. Here we go. Boylan root beer, Stewart's cream soda. Yes, really big Flattened Scruggs fan. Down in the Willow Garden. I haven't listened to enough to really say. I don't live in Alaska anymore, but I live there because my parents were there when I was born. It is not humid at all. In fact, I think it's classified as a desert sometimes. I think like several feet. I'll show a picture of it. It was a genuine pain in the ass to shovel. I've only had them once, but I did enjoy them, yes. Dalek asked, how do you do a lot of your editing effects? This is a question that comes up a lot. I'll answer it here. I think it comes up again later in various incarnations, but I'll answer it as well as I can. I would say my editing style has changed significantly in the time since I've started making videos. It started off very, I would just say vanilla. I did titles, fade in, fade out, you know, like some basic moves. I didn't even really know how to use easing at first, so shit just kind of like moved in. But over time, and I think this is the case with pretty much anyone who makes like media and who has a lot of creative control over it, it just became more stylized. I really enjoy stylized media, and I enjoy media that has its own trademark just from the way it looks. And so like I just kind of developed this way of doing things that I can't really describe. I'm 100% like self-taught as far as editing goes, which is in some ways good and in some ways bad. The bad side is that I don't use editing software like industry professionals use editing software. I don't have any standards at all. But the good news is I was able to figure a lot of things out on my own, and I feel like I know kind of the software's back to front. Just general overall, if you're interested in the editing style that I use, like you want to reproduce it, or you're interested just in what makes it the way it is, I fuck around with blending modes a lot. I think blending modes are super cool, not very underutilized, I think, in YouTube videos. They're fun. Just play around with like difference and screen and like color burn and things like that. You can get some really cool effects. I use a lot of glowing. I do a lot of like Gaussian blur. I make transitions and motion graphics be very like percussive and like I make them feel very physical. At least that's my goal. It's what I try to do, to make everything sort of feel like it's physically there in front of you. I want everything to feel like it's like made of glass and is moving and glowing, and you can see through shit and things are interacting with each other, you know. And I try to contrast between like smooth, steady movements and very abrupt, percussive movements that you can like feel, you know. That's a really long-winded way of saying it, but that's essentially what I try to do. Thrasher146 asked me another like series of questions. I'll answer them fairly quickly. I just don't really do it very much at the moment. I'm hoping to start up again at some point in the future. Blokery Podcast officially is disbanded, although there is something else in the works that I'm not going to tell you very much about because we're not sure if it's confirmed yet, but there might be something coming. For videos, I use Premiere, sometimes After Effects, sometimes Photoshop, along with like Blender and MS Paint and a couple other like auxiliary things. For music, I use Logic, solid program. I don't really know. I do a little bit. My minor at college is animation, which has allowed me to do a bunch of film stuff because otherwise I wouldn't be allowed into it. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Melia asked, what is the most fun you've ever had in a recording or stream? That is a hard-ass question to answer. The original Forsaken YouTube videos to date, I think, may be the hardest I've ever laughed. No, see, I don't really know. It's hard to remember these things. I remember at least two distinct instances. One was when me and Ryan were watching this Ryan Johnsimus soap shoe video. Look it up if you want to know what it is. You're not missing out on very much. But basically, we just watched this guy named Ryan Johnsimus do soap shoeing and then fall over and bounce off of a rail. And for some reason, just in the moment, that was the actual funniest shit I'd seen in my entire life. I was genuinely about to pass out from how hard I was laughing. It was astounding. One that was caught on tape was Forsaken YouTube Videos 1, which to date, I still think like, I like Forsaken Videos 3. I think Forsaken Videos 3 is the best one that we made, but Forsaken YouTube Videos 1 was without a doubt the most fun I was having. It was completely impromptu. That was not planned at all. We got together to film Uno. We were gonna play Uno, and one of our like Uno players didn't show up, so we were like, okay, we're not gonna do that. And we went on Discord, saw that Arthur was playing Brawlhalla, and invited him to play Brawlhalla. We had never spoken to him before, so the interactions that you're hearing in Forsaken YouTube Videos were our literal first interactions with Arthur. We'd never spoken to him like in a call before, but basically we got him to play Brawlhalla with us. That got boring really quickly, and so we just decided to start watching shitty YouTube videos, and it was probably one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It was wonderful. I was incredibly paranoid that the recording got corrupted because I was so excited to edit it when I got home. Yeah, it was wonderful. Fluffy Dawn asked, do you see yourself still doing videos 5 or 10 years from now in the future or in general? That's a great question. I think it will entirely depend on if I can continue finding like fun in making videos, because I make videos because I enjoy doing them. You know, I think I enjoy the process, and I enjoy seeing the final product. Sorry, I'm closing a box over here. I enjoy making them, and I enjoy seeing the final product like finally come to life after working on it for so long. And if there ever reaches a point where I'm not interested in doing that anymore, I probably will stop making videos. I don't see that happening anytime soon because I genuinely really just enjoy making things, as I've said before. I might change forms, you know, I might change the kind of content I make, but I don't see it happening at any point in the near future. Chuck asks, will there be, I agree with this too video. If something that wonderful happens again, then sure, there will be another. P-Lord asks, what are your favorite movies in no particular order? Again, shit ton of them. I can't mention them all at once, but actually, I'm recording with my phone, so I can't pull up my like little list of good movies. I love the 2009 Sherlock Holmes film by Guy Ritchie, great movie. Grand Budapest Hotel, Fantastic Mr. Fox, while we're on the Wes Anderson subject. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is also a phenomenal film. I love the Lord of the Rings films. That's a great trilogy, probably one of the best. That and Pirates of the Caribbean are some of my like all-time favorite trilogies of films just in general. Napoleon Dynamite is a classic. I know that's a controversial pick because some people really do not like that movie, but I really, really like Napoleon Dynamite. There's a few more. I'll throw a few up on screen if they're like, I know there's a ton that I missed, but I'll throw a few more up on screen just so you can see. Zephanum asked, favorite kind of weather? I love it when it is cloudy, not dark, but cloudy, like slightly overcast. The air feels like kind of like wet, like it's rained a day or two ago. You know, it's still like there's a little bit of moisture in the air, and there's a breeze. There's got to be a breeze, and it's a little bit cold. I like it like 50. You know, 50 is a good temperature, and there's a breeze blowing, and everything seems like really fresh. I just love that. So I like fall and I like winter. Those are my two favorite seasons. Gloomy says, how do you come up with video topics? Literally, there's no rhyme or reason. No rhyme or reason at all. I will happen upon a topic and think, that's interesting. I wonder if anyone has ever talked about that before. And I'll look it up, find out that no one has. That's a video right there. Sometimes people will suggest them. Like, I really appreciate when people come to me with ideas that work really well. Sometimes, you know, I'll have an idea and it'll morph into something else. There's no order to it. It just kind of happens. Help said, what inspired your anachronistic/analog aesthetic? I sort of talked about this before, but I've always been a huge fan of like vintage computer graphics. I love the Scanimate machine. I think it's wonderful. There's just something really, really charming to me about early attempts at computer graphics. I think they're just so interesting and really endearing, and they had a lot of personality that I feel like a lot of contemporary and especially like corporate computer graphics just do not have today. You know, like even the most cynical of like 80s corporate presentations to me just has so much more charm than like anything that Google would make today, you know? As a kid, I grew up around a lot of really shitty old technology as well because, you know, the area I was living in was kind of like 15 or 20 years behind everything else in most aspects. So it was something that also kind of reminds me of when I was younger. Tao just sent 2 different pictures of pizzas and asked what I think of them. I don't know. I can't see them well enough to really tell you. They look okay. They look like they're dry as shit. which is kind of standard for like university pizza, but you know, it's that. Kiro asked, what are your favorite musical acts, and are there any band aesthetics you're inspired by? That's a great one. People say I listen to everything as like a cop-out. For me, I really want to say that it's true. I listen to whatever the hell like sounds interesting, honestly. Like bands, so because of that, there's a lot, it's hard to pin down like particularly what bands I'm interested in, but there are a few that like I find myself coming back to over and over again. I like a lot of like classic IDM musicians. I like Aphex Twin, I like Musique. I've been on a Square Pusher kick recently. Square Pusher's great. I like Grandaddy. Arthur introduced me to Grandaddy. I think they're wonderful. Under the Western Freeway was their first and in my opinion their best album. I really enjoy it. Tons of emotions in that. I like Bruce Cockburn a lot. I actually saw him in concert a couple weeks ago. He was really cool. Great singer-songwriter. I love Johnny Cash, probably my favorite all-time country singer. I know that's kind of a generic answer, but I think he's wonderful. I love his music. I've performed a lot of it in various contexts, and it's just super interesting. I like Stiff Little Fingers. That might be my favorite punk group. I think they're great. Inflammable Material is a wonderful album. I would recommend everybody listen to it if you can. It's just great. What else? There's probably a few more that I'm not thinking of right now. Oh yeah, and of course Pilot Red Sun. I can't forget Pilot Red Sun. Probably hands down my #1 biggest musical influence. I've loved listening to his music for years at this point, and I don't think I ever will stop. It's just wonderful. Random Channel 1614 says, how you specifically search for certain topics to talk about, and how much do you go through scripts to make it as coherent as your final products? And then stumbled upon your 2B2T video, but you gave us such a formal and perfectly flowing presentation with chapters. Glad you liked it. I still think that video is one of my best. I had a really fun time making it. Generally the writing process kind of just goes, I find an interesting topic, I throw ideas at the wall until like something sticks, you know, like I just throw out things I think are interesting related to this topic. I then kind of decide on the structure of the video, whether it's going to be chronological or organized into like categories, or it's going to be kind of like a loose framed narrative like the Ruins of the Web video was. Then I lay out an outline where I go through the motions. I do like kind of piece to piece, you know, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and then I kind of work out everything in between. And then I write the script, and then I send it off to someone usually to review it if I'm feeling like it might not be up to snuff. Crazon Framework says, when did you decide to learn so much about internet culture and the like? I'm curious because for me, I can trace most of my interests back to a very specific point at which I decided to look into them. I am incredibly interested in things that are obscure, things that are lost, things that are very old, like origins for things that people wouldn't necessarily be interested in. I find things that are old and anachronistic and forgotten and obscure to be just so goddamn interesting. I've always been interested by those as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. And growing up, I watched a shit ton of YouTube. I watched a ton of Nexpo, a lot of Blame It on Jorge, Rainbot, stuff like that. You know, I was super into that, circa 2015-ish. And I've also always been into the macabre stuff, you know, creepy things. I like to be scared. And those all just kind of coalesced as I got older into an interest in internet culture, because, you know, it's the biggest repository of man-made information ever created in the history of humanity. Nothing even comes close. And the fact that there is so goddamn much of it that people don't know about, or that people have entirely forgotten about, is just insane to me. And right now, outside my car, there's a impasse between one forklift carrying a bleacher and another forklift carrying a bleacher. That was really cool. Sorry. I have the attention span of a fucking chipmunk. But anyway, I just find that stuff super interesting. I have a comp professor who calls the internet the eighth wonder of the world, and I totally agree, because it's insane, the scale of it, and anything I can do to document shit that takes place on it is is something interesting to me. Summer Solstice 255 said, how did you learn to edit in your specific style, and how long did it take to get settled into something you enjoy? Now, I kind of covered this before, but basically, I started with a very bland, kind of flat editing style, and I just sort of evolved into the one that I currently have today. I became more and more stylized. Certain videos have been tipping points, like the Cola Wars video is what started me using sound effects prolifically in my videos. Before that point, everything was kind of silent. That video made me realize just how fun it was to kind of like sync everything up to sound, and I've kind of done that ever since. I draw some inspiration from like film, like actual live action film stuff I've done. I draw inspiration from a variety of different places, but I would say that it's taken about 3 years for this editing style to fully coalesce, and it's still changing, you know, like I have no doubt that in like another year or two, my editing style is going to be noticeably different from what it is today. And I think that's really cool. You know, it's not something static, it just keeps on changing. Puffle Point says, I'm willing to bet you've probably been asked this a lot, but what inspired the aesthetic of your videos? That's ironic, okay. I know it's like 70s, 80s informational tapes, but it's still such a unique and distinctive style and has to have had inspiration. Like I said before, Scanimate machine, look up, Google fucking Scanimate machine and you will see what I'm talking about. Also just like informational graphics. I think old infographics are so damn interesting. I just think they're really entertaining. Just old computer graphics as well. And hardware as well. Like I like what I'm inspired by what people did with limited hardware. Like the way that people use limited hardware to create graphics that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. Like, I love ASCII art. I think ASCII art is super interesting, and I try to use it occasionally in my videos because I think the way that it was used to circumvent limitations of the hardware at the time was incredibly interesting, and I think it lends like more handcrafted feel to things. You know, overall, what I'm trying to do with editing and with the aesthetic of the video is to make something that is wholly recognizable and I guess kind of like unique and something that you can feel the like intentions behind when you view it. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. Lock D, who, if I remember correctly, is actually, I think, one of my oldest subscribers. I remember you subbing to my channel in like 2019. You were probably in the first 100, so I think that's fucking insane. Like, good on you, man. I appreciate it. And they asked, how much physical hardware do you have for your videos, or even just for personal use, and if you plan to use them more in the future? I kind of accumulate shit. That was a weird sentence. I just like old, kind of broken down things. Not as much as my friend Tyler. He has a very interesting collection. But I just like kind of old tech. I think it's interesting, and I like to use it in videos. I like creating frameworks for videos that are based on like just some kind of like concept or theme. Like I did with the Wikipedia video. You know, I had the little like TV screen that was, I still have that, by the way. I think it's in storage somewhere. But I have a bit of it right now because I'm in college. I don't have as much as I would like. You know, I kind of just like messing around with like physical hardware, but I don't have very much of it right now because I'm in a tiny ass dorm that I share with 3 people, not 4 people, sorry. And so I don't know. I'm not much at the moment, but I'm planning on picking some up later. Baguette Lady asked, can we get a trans rights? Yes, you can. Trans rights, for anyone on the channel not in support of trans rights, you can all politely go fuck yourself. I am supportive and I always will be, and you can rest assured knowing that I don't think that'll ever change. GDM245 asked, will you do more videos when you feature fan-made things like you did in your full season tales from I can't fucking read today. Will you do more videos when you feature fan-made things like you did in your full season tales from our Bizarre World video with the fan-made bumpers? Yes, I hope that I will. If I like having community participation a lot. The bumpers I think were really fun, and it was cool to see everybody's creativity kind of coming to life there. If I ever do another collaborative project, I will be sure to let everyone in the community know because I just think it's super fun. Eldritch Midnight 6007 said, are there any topics you want to cover but haven't found a good way of doing so yet? Kind of. Usually I can figure something out because I'm not super like bound to any particular presentation style. You know, I can usually figure, like, Ruins of the Web is basically 3 videos that I just kind of loosely tied together because I thought they were all interesting but didn't like stand quite strong enough on their own, so I just brought them all together. Usually that's what'll happen if I have a concept that I don't really know how to make into a video. There are a few. I have a little tiny list. Hold on. I have a videos topics list. Dead forums and Usenet groups is a fun one. Tiny Basic. I thought Tiny Basic was a really fun topic and I wanted to do something on it. Seaboy RD. Someone talked about Seaboy RD when I was talking about Pilot Red Sun. I thought that was fun. I was going to talk about like notable DNS attacks at some point. There's just a lot of different stuff, and some are like in the process of being made into videos, some are not. TV Ghost 4687 says, what are you currently studying in college, and what would you like to be studying? I am a comp sci major, baby. I study computers. I write programs. I learn about fucking networks and shit. I'm swearing a little bit too much. I'm sorry, guys. It's early in the morning. But yeah, I study comp sci. I've always kind of had a head for computers. I personally am like, I like to see myself as someone who's really interested in creative stuff. You know, I like making things, but I also have always been like pretty good at like systems thinking and problem solving and stuff like that. So computer science was kind of a natural choice, and I find it super interesting. I think it's really cool. And my dream goal, as always, is to marry those two interests somehow, you know, work with computers and be creative at the same time. Josiah Root 5505 said, what is your favorite YouTube channel / creator other than yourself? That's a really hard one. I'm a really big fan of, I like Jay Schlatt a lot. You know, it's kind of out of nowhere, but I think he's really fun. I've been watching him for years at this point. I like the podcast that he's on as well. I like Chuckle Sandwich, and I really like Sleep Deprived. I think they're great. As far as like video essay stuff, I still am a big Nexpo fan. I've kind of dropped off a little bit recently, but I still think he's super interesting. There's a few more. Again, I'll put them up on screen so you can see any that I may have missed. But in general, I watch a big selection of people, and I think they're all super interesting. This person just, Driver QT9JH said, favorite 2000s era General Motors car. Really funny you should ask that, because I am in one right now. This is my 2000 Buick LeSabre. This is a pre-9/11 car. This car is older than me, and I love it so much. I've had to fix so much shit on it since it broke, but I love it regardless, and I'm gonna keep it for as long as I can. Final question for the morning. Guy Slecker, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your name, said, what's your favorite kind of chips? That would have to be sour cream and onion, particularly Ruffles sour cream and onion. I think they're really good. I'm buckling up right now because it is about 3 minutes to one of my classes starts, and I have to get there because I have a presentation to give. This went a lot longer than I thought it would. If you don't mind, I'm actually gonna drive while I'm talking here. But basically, I just want to one last time say thank you guys so much for sticking around this long. Thank you for coming to the channel in the first place. And I really hope that you will, I can't pull out right now because there's too many damn cars, but I hope you guys will continue to watch the channel long into the future, and I hope that the content I make will continue to entertain you guys for as long as possible. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and see ya.